What's happening, party people? This is your daily morning motivational message. Motivation's a lot like taking a bath, your personal hygiene. You got to do it every day in order to maintain a standard. You got to set the standard. And my suggestion to you is that your standard be higher than any other standard or anyone else would expect of your standard. And if you do that for yourself, okay, I'm talking about your personal standard of excellence, your personal standard of execution, your personal standard of effort. You can always better your best. So you want to get in the habit of cultivating what's the next level, because there's levels to this, and there are certain ways that we can choose to show up in our life, in our careers, in our business. And I want to talk to you about starting this journey, being in business and having the opportunity to build your own organization, to cultivate and develop relationships, have sales success, and bring more value than what you're asking for in return. And that's the positioning that I want to speak from. I'm not going to be doing or building any business where I don't provide far more value than what I'm asking for in exchange. I want to be someone who underpromises and overdelivers. And that doesn't mean, and don't have a negative connotation to underpromise. It doesn't mean that I'm talking and speaking about bare minimums. It just means that I'm letting people know, hey, when I do this, I'm going to give you this level of excellence and expectation. But in my mind, I know what I'm really going to do is up here. I'm speaking as if it's coming from here at a high level of excellence, but I want and I'm shooting for a superb level of excellence. And what I'm asking for in exchange in terms of the monetary value, you're going to give me this much. It's right here. You're going to give me this. I'm going to give you this, but actually I'm shooting for this. And when you have that as a come from, it's a great starting place. Understanding that sales is about service. A lot of people get confused. They think sales is about getting over or taking something from someone. That doesn't make any sense. Like you can't have any successful transaction without a sale that's being made. So for those of you that are married, you had to sell your spouse that you were the best option for them, the best fit for them. For those of you that are employed, you had to sell your employer that you were the best option for the hire. For those of you that have children, you're selling your children on your philosophy, your principles, your family values every single day. And you're selling something that they can buy and buy into and then incorporate into their own philosophy. So sales is always happening. The most successful people in the world are really good at sales. They're good at selling themselves, selling their ideas, selling and promoting their platform, etc. So that's just a part of life. You can try to pretend that it's not. You can try to act like, oh, I don't do that. I don't do sales. I've never met anyone who doesn't do sales or who's not involved in sales. I've never met anybody. I've met plenty of people who are they've committed to living in a box. They've committed to only being an employee. They've committed to allowing somebody else to set the standard for them, to set their income, to set their abilities. And so they've placed all of their financial life in someone else's hands, but they still have to sell. They have to sell whatever their employer is telling them to sell. So if you're a manager of a restaurant, for example, your job is to sell the experience. Your job is to ensure that everybody has a very great, comfortable, awesome, and amazing experience in doing that. You got to sell customer service. You got to sell your employees that are working underneath you how to be excellent at their job, be great servers, provide great service, be timely, professional, responsive, etc. So selling is always a part of it. If you're working for a corporation in a Fortune 500 company, you're selling whatever it is they want you to sell. So you might be a part of the overall system or process, but that process is leading to somebody doing business, because you don't work for any company. If you work for Apple, if you work for Google, if you work for Microsoft, if you work for Facebook, you're a part of the selling mechanism, because somebody's buying ad space, somebody's buying the product. If it's Goodyear tire, somebody's buying tires. You're a part of that company that ultimately the end game is selling those tires. If no one's buying the tires, you don't have a job. So there's no part of what you do and what you do to make money that doesn't involve sales. So let's just make sure that we're all clear on that. But here's what I want you to understand. And I'll talk later about the 98% versus the 2%. So I have a talk called Transitioning from 98% to 2%, because 98% of the population, they have a certain programming. And I'll speak quickly on it. They're typically, they don't follow the right people. They love making excuses. They're lazy. They're lazy in learning. They're undisciplined. They're not focused. They focus on buying into somebody else's vision instead of cultivating their own with intention. They are masters of deception. They do all of these things that keep them comfortable and keep them stuck in a certain lane. 2%, excuse me, 2%ers are a different level. 2%ers have vision. 2%ers never make excuses. They only focus on making things happen. 2%ers are disciplined. 2%ers are going to outwork and improve and out strategize and outlast. 2%ers are going to do things that others are not willing to do in order to have tomorrow what others are not going to have. 2%ers follow the right people. 2%ers are coachable. 2%ers look at the accountability of being honest about where they are and what they aspire to. So generally, that's just a quick overview. But when you're getting into this business and you're developing and cultivating and building an organization and providing value and understanding the power of sales as a means of serving and providing more value for other people, there's a transition from 98% to 2%, because most people grew up in a household that's a 98% foundation, where they were programmed and taught to go work for somebody else, do what you're told. When the bell rings, you get up and you go here. When the bell rings again, you get up and you go here. So there's a certain programming of, I'm supposed to go work for somebody else. I'm supposed to go get a certain college degree. I'm supposed to get a certain level of education. I'm supposed to allow somebody else to tell me what I'm worth and pay me a salary or an hourly rate. And so that's a go along to get along, flowing with the mediocre masses mentality. That's a 98% thing. 2%ers are very different. They're outliers. They're contrarians. They go against the grain. They understand that leadership and sales are the two greatest and highest selling professions in the world. And so they focus on, how can I develop myself into a better leader? How can I develop myself into a better salesperson? How many times have you seen someone, we're seeing a lot of it now, where they're completely incompetent? You're looking at them and you're like, how in the world did this person get in that position? Why am I working for somebody that should be working for me? Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. You've had employers and you're like, I can't believe I'm working for this fool, because they're very good at selling why they should be in that situation, why they should be in that position. Has very little to do with their actual intelligence, competence, skill set, but they're very good at selling someone else on buying them. So that's why sales is so important. But what I want you to understand as you're embarking on this path and you're building your business and you're building your organization is that you've spent more time out of this world than you have spent in it. So anything that you're doing in the beginning, your level of discomfort and anxiety is going to be high. Your level of competency and understanding is going to be low. So that's why you have the anxiety. But the more you begin to understand and learn and develop and cultivate the skills, your anxiety starts to come down, because your competency and your understanding starts to go up. You have to be willing to go through the process. It's with anything. Anything that you've ever gotten good at, you had to be willing to be bad at it first. You had to be willing to suck at it first. You had to be willing to stick to it and work through those difficult stages in order to get to competency, so that your anxiety and discomfort will go down. That's the name of the game as you're starting out. Understanding that there's a framework that I come from. And for most people, not all, but most people come from a 98% framework where they were told, go to school, get good grades, get out of college, get a job. Whereas now you're in this world of entrepreneurialism, intrapreneurialism, business ownership, sales and leadership. These things may be new to you, or maybe you've seen them in different forms and shapes, but now You're taking on those attributes so that you can create your life, so that you can build the freedom that you want to build. You're taking control of your financial future. And in doing that, it's going to be a process. So on this first day, we're going to do a series the whole week, but this first day is understanding the foundation of, hey, it's going to take some time to transition from a 98% to a 2%. And if I take the time to transition, then I can set myself up with a core foundation in order to be successful. There's a talk, if you YouTube, Google, or Ed Blunt transitioning from 98% to 2%, you should be able to find it. It's a talk I gave years ago, but I think the principles are very relevant to today. So if you got some value, please like and subscribe, and go ahead and share this video with anybody else that you want to be a blessing to, because it's a blessing to be a blessing. Let's make a great week.